What's up, guys? Today we had a huge update to Hearthstone and it is live now. In this video, I'm going to cover all of the things you need to know to have the most success on ladder in the days to come. Also, about 60+% of you are not subscribed, so make sure to click that button because we are going to be putting out a lot more informational Hearthstone content in the weeks to follow. Let's discuss the changes. First, Tortolin was changed to basically pull the spell out of deck rather than playing a copy of it. I think this is a pretty fair change. I didn't get a chance to play with Tortolin in Standard, and so this change actually surprises me a little bit. I didn't think that they would change it just for Wild, and I didn't really hear claims that it was going to be nerfed in Standard. However, I think this change is probably positive for Wild. As you guys saw in my Infinite Turn Quest Mage video, you can do a lot of silly things that are really not very fair with Tortolin and Potion of Illusion. I think that in Wild it was counterable, but also really frustrating to play against. And just because something's counterable doesn't mean it provides a positive experience being in the meta. I think Tortolin was fun, and I don't blame people for being upset that it got nerfed. However, I think this is a relatively fair change and probably won't affect the Wild meta too much, outside of course of deleting this deck. One thing to note is that because it pulls the spell out of deck now, you can actually use this with Luna's Pocket Galaxy and it becomes a little bit better. Formerly, that spell, after it's played, served basically no purpose in your deck, and it actually thins your deck just a tiny bit once you've played it. So this is not insanely relevant, but let's say you played a Pull Celt deck, you drew Tortolin, you played Tortolin before Luna's Pocket Galaxy was drawn. Well, that Luna's Pocket Galaxy is gone, and it's going to take you straight to your 6-cost minions. The second change is Guardian Animals from 7 mana to 8 mana. And so a lot of people are wondering, is this going to see play in Druid in the future? And the answer, I think, is no. 8 mana is not a particularly difficult target for Druid to hit, either in Standard or Wild, but the thing is that it comes at a great cost to get there. And if it's requiring either an extra turn or an extra piece of ramp, innervate, lightning bloom, or otherwise, not only is it consuming that additional resource or coming down later, but it also affects your opponent, but it also hurts your ability to interact with what's going on the board. If it comes down a turn later, the board you're facing is going to be larger, or if you have to use an extra card, then you just have one less card in hand. Guardian Animals definitely made sense over other minion packages in Druid, but I think that no longer is the case. Probably Oaken Summons or a no minion package makes more sense in Druid in the future, like we saw before Guardian Animals was printed. This does hurt Druid decks in the meta a little bit, however, not super significantly. Combo Druid's going to be fine, and of course, Aggro Druid is untouched. So overall in the meta, people want to know, how is this going to change things? How is this going to change my experience playing Wild? And the answer is, unlike most recent nerfs to Wild, this is actually not going to change that much. Tortolin, like I said, was a deck that you could tech against, but most people chose not to because the techs were very specific and not always super effective. Druid is also a deck that doesn't really make sense to tech against. Either your deck beats it, or it doesn't most of the time. And in general, it's not the kind of deck that you run an additional tech against. So Druid is a little bit worse, Tortolin Mage is wiped off the map, but due to the nature of these types of decks, your play experience should mostly stay the same. And then of course you want to know, well, what is the best deck then? And the answer is definitely Reno Priest. If you want a good Reno Priest list, you can find one in my Discord, but if you don't have the dust to play Reno Priest, I think Odd Paladin and Aggro Druid are great choices, and if you have plenty of dust and just want to play something super fun, I think there are a lot of Reno Lock variants that have been really successful for me lately. In general though, the Wild meta is super diverse, and if you don't have hugely aspirational goals, say you just want to reach Legend or something like that, pretty much any deck that gets featured on my channel is absolutely Legend viable. And again, you can find all those lists in my Discord. Thanks for watching, guys. I know this has been a short one, but there's really not too much to say about these nerfs. I think things are going to be mostly the same, but just wanted to let you know in case you were worried. Tune into my stream every night at midnight Pacific, and I'll see you on ladder.